Вітер підіймав небо дим, вічна пам'ять тим, хто загинув молодим. Вітер підіймав небо дим, і душі всі героїв разом з ним. Вітер підіймав небо дим, вічна пам'ять тим, хто загинув молодим. Вітер підіймав небо дим, на згадку всім живим. Коли навічно лягатиму спати, очі заплющ мені, брате. Піду ворогам, подарунок віддам, чи куб з гранати. Моя мати, не плач, Бог не палач. М'яч забере, як закінчиться матч. А поки що так, зі смертю в такт, доки не згорить їх останній танк. Така наша доля, серед мінного поля карбується правда і слава, і сила, і воля. Горе ніби ціле море, але будемо стояти поміцні, як гори. Як же я радий, що маю кому це сказати. Очі заплющ мені, брате, коли навічно лягатиму спати. Вітер підіймав небо дим, вічна пам'ять тим, хто загинув молодим. Вітер підіймав небо дим, і душі всі герої разом з ним. Вітер підіймав небо дим, вічна пам'ять тим, хто загинув молодим. Вітер підіймав небо дим, на згадку всім живим. Вітер підіймав небо дим, вічна пам'ять тим, хто загинув молодим. Вітер підіймав небо дим, і душі всі герої разом з ним. Вітер підіймав небо дим, вічна пам'ять тим, хто загинув молодим. Вітер підіймав небо дим, на згадку всім живим.
Залаєш ми в злу годину, залаєш ми в злу годину. Сам не знаю, де погину, сам не знаю, де погину. Погину я в чужім краю, погину я в чужім краю. Хто ж ми буде брати я?
Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Catherine Cox, a Jungian analyst in London. A very special welcome as always to our Ukrainian colleagues and to anyone else who is threatened with erasure. I've received many messages from colleagues who are unable to join us this evening, particularly from Kyiv. We hold this space tonight for all our Ukrainian colleagues, wherever they may be. Very importantly this evening, we want to know how our colleagues are, and we will come to that shortly. First, we would like to mark and acknowledge the 4th anniversary of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine on the 22nd of February 2022. Words cannot do justice to what Ukraine has endured during this time, nor to the courage, dignity, and resilience with which it has endured. For those of you who are just watching that video clip of a soldier's funeral, it was filmed just 3 weeks ago, and there are many such videos on YouTube. When I was out in Ukraine, I saw for myself how people kneel on both knees when the body of a hero is carried past, even in pouring rain, a sign of deep gratitude and respect. It's estimated that approximately 55,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been killed in action so far, and many more have lost limbs, are being tortured in Russian prison war camps, or are living with profound psychological injury. Russian casualties, including missing and wounded, are estimated at around 1.2 million. Parts of Ukraine continue to live under the terror of occupation. Women have been raped, families torn apart, homes destroyed. The scale of environmental devastation is vast. Just going to pause for a moment because I've got a message. A hand is up. If there's a problem, could you put it in the chat, please? Because I can't actually see it from here. And then, Neil, could you please deal with it? But to the astonishment of the world, most of Ukraine remains free. For 4 years, it has withstood the might of Russia, a might that's now considerably less than it was. The sacrifices of those who have given their lives and the suffering of the Ukrainian people as a whole has not been in vain. Ukraine stands as a beacon in the world, perhaps the brightest beacon, at a time when there are worryingly few, a time when values once held and defended are no longer lived by, and when the world faces serious peril at the hands of its leaders. So Ukraine's significance cannot be understood merely in terms of territory defended or lost. Its impact on the values by which the world lives is far wider than that. So this anniversary is not just about the horror of war, but also tribute to Ukraine continuing to defend itself for so long. Now, while in a moment we will honour Ukraine's heroes, I would like to say that in my view, every Ukrainian, whether living in Ukraine or currently displaced as a refugee, is a hero. Today in particular, we honour our own colleagues who continue to serve their clients, their trainees and supervisees, their families and communities, despite their own often very considerable suffering. So as some of you know, I visited Ukraine twice last year, first to Kyiv, and then to Odessa, Mykolaiv, Zaporizhia and Lviv. So I'm not going to speak about those visits today, except in one respect. Every morning at 9 a.m. across Ukraine, you hear this sound. Traffic stops. People stand still in the street. In restaurants, waiters stop serving and their customers rise from their chairs. The country observes 1 minute of silence. Ukrainians honour the life of every person who has sacrificed theirs so that others may live. Now, when I was in Ukraine, almost everywhere I went, I was taken to memorials for the dead to pay my respects, which I was very moved to do, and I'm really pleased that my colleagues took me there. And I thought I might just share a few photos with you. Just bear with me one moment. Sorry, it's a little bit cumbersome. Okay, so this is at Maidan Square in Kyiv, which you may remember was the site of the revolution in 2014, in which many protesters were killed. And it was a protest against ever closer affiliation to Russia and against corruption. And this is also from that same place. And I went there with Elena. And this is St. Michael's Monastery in Kyiv, and it's really quite stunning. And if you look along the walls here, you will see from all the way along, from the ground up to the top, are pictures of those who have fallen. And this monastery, incidentally, was destroyed by the Soviet Union in the 1930s, and then after Ukraine's independence, it was rebuilt. And here we move to Mykolaiv, and you can see a site of a terrible bombing in which a lot of people lost their lives. And here we move to Zaporizhia, and I know we have got Svetlana Shevchenko in the room with us here today. I don't know if you can see, but all the way along on the bottom right-hand corner, there are rows and rows of these tributes to the dead. And there on the left, we've got Svetlana's nephew. And on the right at the bottom, in the blue and yellow flowers, those are the flowers that Svetlana gave me to put there to pay my respects. And this is the Garrison Church in Lviv on the other side of the country. It's where a lot of the military funerals take place. And here you can see some of the photos there. And I thought I would just end with these 3 photos in a photographic exhibition there of children who've lost their fathers in the war. One 3-year-old child writes, "My daddy is in heavens. My beloved Daddy, where are you? I want to feel your hug. I want you back. One of the master's students at the university in Liv, described to me how she stood with her husband, with the husband of her best friend, I mean, as the body of that best friend and her 3 children were brought from the rubble. Just trying to find my cursor to stop sharing screen, which I don't seem to be able to do. There we go. May all those who have died rest in peace and rise in glory. And so, in solidarity with our colleagues and in recognition that these sacrifices were made not just for Ukraine, but for wider Europe, let us pay our respects to those who made the ultimate sacrifice with 1 minute of silence. So, I don't know exactly what is going to happen this evening. We've never had an event like this before where we haven't had papers being presented and so on. And because of the situation in, particularly in Kyiv at the moment, I'm not really sure who we've got here who is going to contribute. So I am hoping, perhaps if the mute can come off, is Elena in the room? Elena, are you in the room?
Yes, I'm
Yes,
here.
you're here.
Yes,
Ava, are
I'm
you in the
here.
room? Ava Pattis? Nope, I can't hear Ava. Okay, Neil, I've had a message from Svetlana Gregovieva in...
I'm
Ava,
in
are
the
you here?
room. Yes,
Oh, great.
I'm here.
Neil, I've had a message from Svetlana Gregorieva in Odessa that she's in the wrong room. Could you just send her the link again for this room?
Yes, I will do.
Great, thank you. Okay.
Світлана вже тут.
And Svetlana is here.
Oh, is that Svetlana Shevchenko? Are you there?
Світлана Григорєва теж вже тут.
Svetlana Grigorieva is also here. I see her on my screen. And that's Svetlana Shevchenko, right? Svetlana Grigorieva has been here from the very beginning, so thank you.
It's been some time since we last met at WUJ, and it felt important to begin with the most essential question of all. How are our Ukrainian colleagues now? Many of us have seen the reports on the news about the immense suffering Ukraine continues to endure. In recent weeks, following the withdrawal of American protection, there's been a significant increase in bombings. Russia has caused widespread damage to Ukraine's energy infrastructure, leaving millions of people without heat, light or power in temperatures as low as minus 26 degrees. Many have also been without water. The suffering this must be causing is unimaginable. We're gathered here today as friends and colleagues because we care deeply about our Ukrainian colleagues and about the people of Ukraine generally. Many of us live far away and have never experienced life in a war zone. And we know that news reports can only ever tell part of the story. We would be very grateful, dear colleagues, if you would help us to understand how things are for all. And above all, if you would share with us how you are. I'm now going to hand over to Ursula. Ursula, you're muted.
Speak with Olena. Olena, I cannot see you.
Elena, Ursula, you're introducing Daria.
Pardon?
Daria, are you in the room, Daria? Yes.
Daria, yes.
Okay.
Hello, Daria. From what I understand, you are originally from Kiev, but then have become a refugee and moved to Germany, my original home country. And finally, you moved just as you moved to the States. So losing family, losing like your professional community, I just wonder, how are you?
Вітаю,
Hello,
дякую за
and
запитання.
thank you
Ви
so much
знаєте,
for these questions.
воно дуже важливе, тому що
You
воно
know,
повертає нас
this is
в
very important
простір,
because it
де
brings
ми
us back
можемо
to the space
жити, не
where
просто
we can
виживати,
live,
де
not
ми
just
можемо
survive,
з'єднатися зі
where we
своїми
can
почуттями.
come together,
Для
be
мене
in
досвід
contact with our
біженки,
feelings. For me,
він
the
непростий.
experience of being a
Я
refugee is
переживаю
quite
вже другу
challenging,
еміграцію
and this is my second
безпричинний,
emigration
пов'язаний
since the
з
onset of
сімейними
the war
обставинами.
because of my
І,
family
звичайно, для мене це в
circumstances. And
першу
of
чергу
course,
це
for
про
me,
розрив.
above all, that's about the
Розрив між
rupture.
моєю
The
рідною реальністю,
rupture
між моєю
between
рідною
my
Україною, між
native reality, my
мною і
native
моєю
country,
родиною,
Ukraine,
яка
me and
здебільшого
my
залишилась
family,
в
most of
Україні.
them
В
remain
Україні
in
залишились
Ukraine.
мої
In
батьки,
Ukraine, I
моя
have my
маленька
parents,
сестричка,
my younger sister,
мої родичі,
my
інші.
other
Нещодавно я спілкувалася
family
з мамою,
members. Recently, I
якраз
talked to
вона
my
знаходиться в
mom,
Києві, в тім
and
районі,
she's
де
in Kiev, in
було
the place
повністю
where
знищено 2 ТЕЦ.
they
І у
completely
них в квартирі
destroyed
була температура плюс
two
4 градуси за
heating
Цельсієм.
plants,
Вона
and they
розповідала,
had
як вони
temperature
обігрівають
just
квартиру,
4
нагріваючи
above 0
на газовій
Celsius.
плиті
So they explained how they
цеглини.
try
І
to
розумієте, що ці
heat
цеглини по
bricks
квартирі,
on
хоча
the
це
gas
великий
stove, and
багатоповерховий
then
будинок,
they
там
bring
немає
it all over
змоги
the apartment. And this is a
використовувати
multi-apartment
інше опалення. Моя
house,
прийомна
so they
донька,
had no
якій
heating there. My
20
adopted
років,
daughter,
вона
who
не
is
мала навіть
20,
води,
she had no
і
water
опалення було повністю
supply and heating.
знеструмлено більше
Everything was
доби.
destroyed. For 3 days, they had nothing.
Вона має
And
певне
also,
обмеження щодо
she has
піклування
certain
про себе, і це створювало
limitations. She
ще додаткові
has
складнощі.
difficulties taking care of herself, and
І
that created
безсилля
additional
пов'язане з
challenges.
цим,
And my
через те,
helplessness
що я
about that,
знаходжусь за
because
десятки
I
тисяч
am
кілометрів,
thousands of
воно
kilometers away,
воно прям заморожує
and
якусь
that is
частину
something
мене.
that freezes a part
І
of me
дуже важко
somehow. And
втримувати,
it is
перебувати в
very
двох
hard
реальностях.
to hold
Одна
these
реальність
two
— це точка, там,
realities.
де
The
знаходяться мої
Ukrainian
рідні,
reality,
там, де
where my
знаходяться
dear
мої
ones
близькі,
are, where
там,
my
де знаходиться
family
моя
is,
рідна професійна
where
спільнота,
my
мої друзі.
professional community is,
І
and my
моя
friends,
реальність, в якій
and my
виникає
reality
багато
where
нових викликів.
I face a lot of new
Дуже
challenges.
складно впоратися з почуттям
It
провини, не
is
лише
very
почуттям
hard to
безсилля і
cope with
почуттям
the
провини,
feeling of
тому
guilt, not
що
only helplessness, but also
це
guilt,
виникає
guilty
в
feeling.
більшості в стосунках
And
з
that's everywhere
близькими
in my
і
relationships
в
with
роботі з
dear
клієнтами,
ones. And when I
що
work with
створює
those
додаткові
clients,
складнощі, виклики в
because there
роботі,
are
оскільки
additional challenges
багато
when
з
we
моїх
work now,
клієнтів
because many of my
проживають на
clients
території
do
України
live in the
досі.
territory of Ukraine
І
until now.
коли вони виходять
And
із
when
бомбосховища або
they
виходять на
leave
зв'язок,
their bomb shelters or
використовуючи останні заряди
they
на
try to
пристрої, щоб
connect
прийти на
using the
сесію, я
the
перебуваю в
little
цьому
charge
безпечному
that's left
просторі.
on their cell
Є
phone.
багато
And
почуттів з
I'm
цим
here in
пов'язано.
this
Мені
safe
потрібно
space. I have a lot
втримувати
of feelings
ці
around
дві
that.
різні
I have
реальності.
to hold
І,
these
звичайно, у
two
мене не може
different
не бути
realities. And of course, I
почуттів,
cannot
пов'язаних
but
із тим, що вони
experience
зараз
some
переживають, а я не
feelings
можу з
about
цим
what they're
розпоритися.
experiencing now, but I cannot share that with them.
Також
And also, my experience of a refugee impacts identity aspect, because every country is about like building up, or rather transforming my identity. And it's not just about how I feel. There are also certain requirements, expectations according to the legal framework of the country where you are. And now I do not have the right, for example, to practice analytical psychology. I can only provide counseling sessions. That also creates new challenges for me, where you've been working hard on this path, but now I cannot use my skills, my knowledge, because I have these limitations. That's hard, and I'm very grateful for the project How Are You initiative, because that's like home where I can walk in from the frosty weather, where my limbs are numb and you can melt a little bit. First, it is painful, you know, when your limbs are unfrozen, but then you feel warmth.
But I feel there is so little what we can do in terms of support. And so it's very often like a feeling like what beyond words. When we saw the video of the funeral, the suffering of the people, and yet the dignity and the beliefs that they still have. So what holds you when you are falling into the abyss of suffering, of guilt, of fragmentation? What can you rely on in these situations?
Знаєте, в часи, коли
You know, in the times
руйнуються зв'язки,
when
війна — це
connections are broken, ruptured, because the war is an kind of an archetype that transforms but also severs these links. The only thing that we can do is support living connection, link with those who we love, what matters for us, with ourselves, with own values, and with what we value, what we believe in. So to me, this is about supporting this link, this connection. That's the only thing I can do now. And that's what, to me, is a beacon, a sort of, or it's like warm hug.
Thank you both very much indeed. I've realised that our colleague from Kyiv, who wasn't able to get into the room, possibly is now in the room, although I think we're going to go to a colleague from Odessa first, and Murray Stein. Are you able to find them, Neil? I know people keep moving around, so we need Murray and we need Svetlana Grigorieva.
Yes.
Svetlana, can you put your hand
It's a pleasure to introduce Svetlana. I don't know you. I've never met you, Svetlana. Maybe someday we will get together in Zurich or somewhere. It would be nice. Svetlana lives in the beautiful city of Odessa. My introduction to Odessa was through some immigrants when I lived in Chicago, and they had come from Odessa, and they spoke so highly of the beauty of the city, how beautiful it was. Nowadays, though, I mean, you're under constant bombardment and threat, and Catherine tells me you live on the coast where the missiles come in and the attacks occur. You work in a medical school, you're a doctor. Can you tell us how you cope? How are you coping with this and working with your patients now?
Дуже приємно, що ви
That's
знайомі
very
з Одеси, хоч
nice that you know about Odessa, even though indirectly. This is really an incredible place, and it is on the Black Sea, on the coast of the sea. That's a long strip along the coastline, and maybe I could share with you how Odessa is living now, because students and all residents of Odessa, we are like a family. And one day of life of the city, I mean, for example, we start our morning when the attack starts. It may be at night, it may be 1 or 2 a.m. And then the city wakes up and it doesn't sleep. We send short messages to each other, like, how are you? What about you? Is it loud? Where did it hit? And there are explosions nearby. And that's like not a dialogue, it's a bridges among people living in Odessa and who are facing this threat. And every question is about a check. Are you alive? Are you there? And we start then proceed with the morning. We do not ask how are you, because obviously if there was an attack at night, you didn't sleep well. So we start with another question. Do you have electricity? Do you have water? Is it planned disconnection, or is it emergency situation? Some say we had electricity 1 hour during the night and 1 hour during the day, but I managed to charge my devices. So, I mean, in this way, you measure the day not so much in the terms of time, but in terms of resources. You have your resource like electricity, it makes it possible for you to work. Water, that is life-giving resource. Telephone connection, of course, telecom connection to keep in touch with the dear ones. So with students, I start by asking them, how are you? Because now students may live in different places, and they also may face different circumstances. And first, I need to find out how they are, whether their families are okay. I mean, that seems to be a normal routine, normal process, but it happens in a bit different dimension now.
What is normal? What is normal in this crazy world? Svetlana, you practice sand play, I read. Sand play therapy. Are you able to carry on sand play with your patients under these conditions?
When I have my patients offline, coming offline, that's very good thing. And this method is so efficient because this is about reality. I mean, now it's important to keep this grasp of the reality, because there are a lot of situations where you are in the space where you need to, where, for example, you go outside and, well, it's beautiful weather, but there may be this drones coming without even a raid alert announced. So you have to listen intently. But that's where you live rather not so much in reality, but in imagination, that you imagine those coming. So you have to kind of test the reality, if it is, this reality is real. So, I mean, sand play therapy is so great there. But unfortunately, municipal transport does not function well in the city now, so some have to walk, or it's expected that the client would have their car to travel. So it may be difficult to support offline meetings work. And students, they also work online because they we don't have this bomb shelter in the facility, so we do not have the opportunity to provide for their safety. And that's that's life.
There's a psychologist in California named Rhonda Cohen, and she has invented an app that you can use to do sand play online. And I'm going to put her in touch with you, and she will give you the app, and you can work with your patients in sand play online. It's kind of a special new invention using modern technology. So that would be a gift to you, Svetlana.
Thank you both very much for sharing with us, Svetlana, the reality of how your life is in Odessa. And I know that's just the tiniest glimpse of it. And I know you also work with veterans and all sorts of other groups. And in fact, you've practiced on me. What was that therapy where you stuck all these things on my head? Was it neurofeedback or
bioacoustic correction, right?
Yeah, so I've had that done on me. And it was very good. I was a little bit stressed being in Odessa with all the missile attacks. So thank you both very much. Now, what we're going to try and do now is to move on to Elena Lulina, who is in Kyiv. And as you know, the situation there is very, very difficult. And I don't know if Elena has managed to stay in the room. We've got Ava here who was going to introduce her. Elena, are you? We've got a picture.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely. Okay. Well, I'm going to thank you so much for being able to join us. And I'm just going to hand over to both of you. Thank you.
Yeah. Hello, Elena. We are very happy to see you, and you can speak to us. You are in Kiev. And I remember Kiev from September, but I think it's worse now. So we really are looking forward to hear what you tell us. You are a Jungian analyst and also the president of the developing group. So you have done a lot of trainings, and I know you are working in private practices and in hospital with civilians and with military. So you are doing a lot of work. And in order that you are able to do the work, I hear also you sleep sometimes or maybe often in the underground station because there you are more safe. To hear all this, it makes me feel completely cold. I was thinking 5 minutes ago, I have to get a blanket. I'm so cold, but we have the heating. You don't have the heating, but I think just to imagine, your life does a lot to us. So we really would like to know, how are you?
Всім доброго вечора. І дійсно,
Hello,
я дуже рада,
everyone.
що можу
I
приєднатися.
am very happy that I can join. Let me just add that I'm no longer the president of the Ukrainian Development Group. I have stepped out from that position. And now regarding the situation in Kyiv, actually it varies. I live on the right bank of the Dnipro River, and here we have a situation that is a bit better because it is the left bank where people face much more challenging situations. I have friends there. And all in all, the circumstances that these events that we are experiencing now, well, for me, it is important not to get stuck there, but to try and focus on communication. For example, with our friends who we had not seen for a while, we invited them to come, and when their situation is particularly challenging, and they spent a night at our home. And even though since the beginning of the war we hadn't seen them, Of course, we have difficult situation because of the frosty weather. It's been a long time since we had this frost. I remember last time it was when my kids were at school and they were looking forward to this frost because then they were allowed not to go to school because it's too cold. But now this brings beautiful winter, of course, and life goes on. And in parks, you can see kids sledging, and that's something that helps us see how life goes on. When there is no electricity, for example, I actively use this New Year lights, decorations, because it's convenient. They can work with batteries, with accumulators. So, and also candles. I love candles and I use them. So that creates warmer experience to go through these difficult times. And me personally, I don't go to the underground station now, but my clients definitely use it as a bomb shelter. Next to me, I have an ordinary bomb shelter. And when I know that it's going to be a hazardous night and we will hear a lot of explosions around, then it makes sense for me to go to the bomb shelter to avoid that. What I hear from my clients and my friends who live here, many of them, well, they experience these difficult situations as trial. My client says that her grandfather puts on all the warm clothes, he said, and says, I never give up. So it's like life goes on and we do not give up. And maybe what's hard for me and painful for me is to hear that people continue being killed in the war. My accountant, who helps me with my individual entrepreneur status, last month her husband went missing in the war, and unfortunately, most likely he was killed. And that's very painful because that's the fourth year of the war. And to me, this is really the most difficult thing. I mean, that it takes lives, the toll on human lives. Those people who live here, they are losing their lives. That's painful. While frosty weather and some challenges, it's something that makes us stronger. We can smile at that and move on.
Mm-hmm. We are really so impressed always, to see your resilience, that you say it makes you stronger. We can see it, on what you say. We could see it on what you are doing. And for some of you, the war is not 4 years, it's 12 years. Some of you, the people from the Donbass, have it much longer than 4 years. So your resilience is really extraordinary. And I would like to ask you also the work with military personnel. What do they need from you, therapists? Because it's so difficult for them, to go to the front line and then to come back to have maybe soft feelings and loss and then go again to the front line. Would you like to talk a little bit about how it is for you to work with the military personnel?
Знаєте, я працюю з тими
I work with those soldiers who are veterans, those who are not going to come back to the war, those who, because of their health situation status, they stay in the civilian life, they remain civilians, but they still are in touch with their brigades, with their comrades in the war. And actually, I believe that they are experiencing a very deep, profound transformation. That's about accepting the life as a civilian, civil life, and how hard it can be, because in the life in the rear, it is about well, I have my office, for example, in the downtown. There are restaurants working, but if there is no electricity, they use generators, and there may be a raid alert, and we understand that it could be a dangerous thing. So they start looking how to fit in, and that's my mission, to help them to find their place, to fit into the civil life, and working with that guilty feeling, because many of their comrades have fallen. You can hear me, right?
Both very much indeed, and it's so good to see you, Elena, and still smiling as always. And thank you also, Ava. So I'm going to just see if Svetlana, we're going to go to Anna Bidner and Susan Schwartz in a moment, but I think that Svetlana Shevchenko is in the room, and she is in Zaporizhia. I don't know, Neil, if you can find Svetlana. And Svetlana, if you would like to just say something from Zaporizhia, so we know, there you are. Would you be willing to just give us a brief? You know, you're very close to the front line in Zaporizhia, as I know, having been to see you. That was where I could hear the battle. Could you just say a few words, and then we'll hand over to Anna and Susan. How are you?
Ситуація не стає
The
кращою, вона
situation
тільки
is not
погіршується.
getting better. I would say it's getting worse. And now it is quite harder to be in Zaporizhia. Lots of drones, lots of attacks, lots of suffering around. And you are right saying that that's anniversary, right, of the full-scale invasion, which also has certain impact on people. And that's why it's so painful to observe all of that and to be with that. This is very challenging experience. So now this is definitely a difficult period for the city of Zaporizhia, because the situation in the front line is very challenging. The enemy is coming closer, and it's hard. Lots of people cannot stand it, and they leave. And each time you kind of stay with even fewer friends, fewer people around. That's also a very painful experience.
Yes, I seem to remember that when I was visiting you, all your neighbours in your block had actually left, hadn't they? Immediately around you.
Yes, currently out of the 12 apartments, there are just 3 still at home. But people keep living. Not only neighbors, but my friends make the decision to leave because they can no longer stand that.
Well, Svetlana, our heart goes out to you as well. And of course, we all pray that you'll stay safe, because you really are so very, very close to the front line. And I'm sure we'll be hearing further from you in due course. But we have booked in to hear from Anna Bidner. So we're going to now move away from Ukraine to somebody else who is a refugee, this time in London. There she is. Hello, Anna, and hello, Susan.
Hello, Anna. I don't think I know much about you, but I would like to know how it is that you are, how you feel not being in Ukraine and being Ukrainian, because England is a very different country. And I'm just wondering if you might share a bit of what that experience is for you now.
Thank you very much, Susan. And actually, Ukraine and UK is quite similar because after war started, I were in Turkey and it was difficult. But then when I came to London, here is the same weather as in Ukraine, the same nature, the same houses, the same food. I have friends and I'm from little village in Ukraine, from Chernihiv region. So for me, feels more like in my village in London than in Kiev, because Kiev is a big city, and in London, as you may know, there is a lot of small buildings like in the village, and we have very good community on our street. People usually lived here for 20 years, and we may have chat with neighbors, drink coffee together, or some neighbors' children can come to make lessons with me. And also, it's interesting that on our street we had Ukrainian family, and they were just from next village in Ukraine originally. So it was interesting coincidence, and it was very important for me.
And I also wondered, in your work, do you work with people who are still in Ukraine?
Yes, I am still working with people in Ukraine, and uh, sometimes it's not easy because I have client who was in army. I have client in Lviv. I have client in Kiev, and I have Ukrainian clients also in abroad. I mean, in another countries, and it can be quite difficult, but they are very strong, and to work with them for me feels like to be in Ukraine a bit also, because I still have a mother there, I still have friends there, and this winter it was first time during war that I didn't visit Ukraine. I stayed in London, and it was a bit sad, but my friends are amazing because it looks like I should support them because they are without electricity, without heating, and so on. And I'm in touch with them regularly, but they also supports me and make me to not feel guilty that I am here and in safe. And I will have birthday in the end of this week, 14th of February. And actually, last weekends I was very upset because I used to have this day with my friends, like friends, relatives, family, neighbors, and it was like big dinner. And I feel sad that they are not with me, and I know that they will celebrate my birthday without me. They do it every year, and it's a bit sad when they are calling me and having fun, and I am far from them. But in the same time, I am happy that I have friends, family, and clients in Ukraine.
It's quite a contrast, is what you're describing. And yet, your adjustment is quite a lot. And also, your friends and family in Ukraine are adjusting to you not being there. I don't know if one ever gets used to it, but that's what you're saying. Everyone is having to get used to it. Yeah. I'm going to ask you something. Is there something you might wish for, not just for your birthday, but is there something you might wish?
Oh, I am such a dreamer and I wish a lot of things.
Okay.
Yes, I wish now my biggest wish is to be with my, oh, it's making me sensitive, friends and family.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I want.
Miss them. And one of my friends visited me in London just recently, and I was very happy to see her. So yes, to
So
be
in
to be all together and to share meal together and to laugh and to speak, to make silly jokes, it sounds like biggest dream.
yes, it's kind of like what Murray said before. What is normal? We kind of also wish for whatever normal is.
Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone who has contributed to that. It's very moving. I'm afraid we haven't got time to hear from anyone else this evening. We thought we would keep this meeting a little bit shorter because of the circumstances in Ukraine. But please do not leave the room because I have some exciting notices. Well, they're fairly exciting. The first one is that I will be in Kyiv this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And if you would like to meet for a coffee and you haven't yet been in touch, please do email me at the WUJ email address. I'll be staying at the Hotel Sophia, which has generators, so it's warm and able to serve hot food and drink. And if you need an interpreter to meet for coffee, then please do let me know. The second thing is that I will be giving an online talk on Thursday, the 26th of February, about my recent trips to Ukraine, which will include this trip that I'm just about to go on. It was an extraordinary experience. I think I'd probably go so far as to say it was quite life-changing, and I would very much like to share it with you. When I was in Ukraine, one of the things that the Ukrainian colleagues often said to me was how important it was that when I go back, I talk about Ukraine so that they know they are not forgotten, particularly with so much other stuff going on in the world, so that people are better informed. The event will be hosted by BJA, which is the London organisation that I belong to, and it's very keen to support our Ukrainian colleagues at this time. So the event will be open to everyone. And it's got simultaneous translation and free to Ukrainians. Thirdly, the WJ now has a web page. I'm afraid we can't afford a website of our own at the moment, so it's on my web page, but it has got a page of its own, and I hope that we can use that to develop the project a bit more. So do please take a look at it. Fourthly, we have a new administrator, and I don't know, Neil, if you're able to spotlight Sasha. I think Sasha can't get onto the camera. She's not got enough power, has she? So Sasha is a Ukrainian student studying psychology at a university in Poland, and we are very delighted to have her on board and thank her in advance for all her hard work. There is actually a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes at WJ, so very much welcome, Sasha. And now, most importantly, looking ahead, and I don't know whether the slides are appearing on the screen. They were supposed to be sort of going on during this time, but because I can't actually see it. But you might now see an image for our next series called Chronicles of Our Time, which is an image that Marilyn Matthew has created. And this idea emerged when I was visiting Ukraine and meeting some of you in person. And the stories that you shared moved me very deeply, and I felt that maybe within WJ the time had come for a more intimate space, a more intimate sharing. So today was just a little taster and a little bit of an experiment as to how we do it. This would be longer and more in depth, going a little bit perhaps into family stories and so on. Now, Daria Konchenko, who you heard from earlier, told me that the Ukrainian word litopsis, or something like that, carries and this is her words, profound cultural and symbolic meaning. It's not simply a record of events, it's a testimony to lived experience, a way of preserving human destiny within history, written with the awareness that these lives and these moments matter beyond the present. So we are inviting all our Ukrainian colleagues, if you would be willing to share your story. I'm going to be arranging a Zoom meeting for anyone, and then we can get together and to work out how we're going to do it. The idea is actually based on a charity in Denmark, which has set up something called a library of humans. So you take out a book, and the book is actually a person and their story. So we do have a few further ideas in the pipeline, but as always, if you have any suggestions about how we might best support our Ukrainian colleagues, especially if it's our Ukrainian colleagues making suggestions, please do email WUJ. Now, finally, when we have paid the bills for this event, WUJ will run out of money. It would be great if everyone who attends today and who watches the recording could please contribute to this project to enable it to continue. We do have to pay for things like interpreters, Sanctus Media, MailChimp, DeepL, and so on. And we rely totally on donations. So coming to these events and providing financial support as well as your time to this project is one of the ways in which each of us can make a difference. And I'm hoping that QR codes have popped up on the screen and are in the chat somewhere. But if not, you'll be able to find the link on our webpage. And I do thank you in advance for your generosity in enabling this project to continue. It's time now to say goodbye for today. As always, we pray that our colleagues and all of those whom you love will stay safe. And may the world's leaders soon recognise the imperative of acting with courage and integrity so that this unjust war may come to an end. We will close, as we always do, with the prayer for Ukraine. Now, I can tell you that it is filmed in the Basilica of St. Sophia, which just happened to be down the road to the hotel that I stay in Kyiv. And so I visited the Basilica. And it was built to rival Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. And it is stunning. The photography in the film doesn't really do it justice. It was completed in 1037. Can you imagine, 1037, before Moscow was even founded. And on that note, let us listen to and watch the video, The Prayer for Ukraine.
Боже великий єдиний, нам Україну храни. Волі світу промінням її осіни.
Thank you, everyone, and good night.